Hi Stage 4, we're going to make a marble cake today, which is a really fun cake. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start by lining our cake tin. In actual fact, if I had a cake tin like this, which had a bit of a non-stick surface on it, I probably wouldn't even bother lining it. I would just give it a good spray with some spray oil. But have a look at this one. Someone's actually wrecked this one by cutting it or cutting on it, and it's lost some of its non-stick. So definitely I would need to line my tin. Start off by drawing the shape on your baking paper of the bottom of the tin. So you've got two circles. Then I'm making two cakes because I'm going to layer my cake for a stage 5 project. But you'll probably just want one. So then you measure from your baking tray box, baking paper box, how long you want that to be, to wrap around. We're going to cut this one in half. I've actually trimmed it off. So I trimmed off about that much because we don't want it to be too high. So now we've got enough for our two tins. Then we're going to fold over about 3 centimetres, like that, all the way along. All the way along like that. Then we take our scissors, we cut like this, all the way along. Then this piece goes into the tin first. So first it's a spring-formed tin, which we hope it will be because it makes it life a lot easier. Put this in first, right, all the way around. Push those little tabs down. And then get your circle and put the circle on top. And that'll spread it out. And there you have it, your tray, your tin is lined. Okay, so with cake making, most cakes require you to cream the butter and sugar together. If you want to do that by hand, get ready to build up some big muscles because it takes a lot of energy to do that. If you've got something like this at home, you can do it with a handheld beater. If you've got a smaller version of one of these, which is called a planetary mixer, then you can use one of those as well. So our first step is we've softened the butter in the microwave so it's just soft like that. We don't want it runny. Whatever you do, don't over soften it because you don't want that at all. That'll change the chemical properties of the butter and that won't be good at all. So we're going to, first of all, we're going to beat that butter on its own before we add the sugar in. And we need to put the guard on. And we're going to turn it on. You need to turn it off when you change gears. So we can add the vanilla to that. And we're going to add the sugar in 3 amounts. So we're going to actually take that down like that, take that off. Put approximately 1/3 of butter in there, of sugar in there. Scrape it down. And then beat it. It comes up really white and fluffy when you do it in a planetary mixer or a handheld. So I've put my sugar in 3 batches, and I'm just going to come and have a look and see how white and fluffy it is. But I can still feel there's a few grains of sugar undissolved. The idea here is that we're actually dissolving the sugar in the butter, and then the other idea is we're incorporating a lot of air. Air is what we want when we're making the cake. So I'm just going to let it go a little bit longer. So one thing we need to do is add even more air to the mix by sifting the flour. That gets the lumps out, and it also adds air to the mix. If we come over here, we can see that we've got a lovely fluffy creamed butter and sugar. Now we're going to add the eggs one at a time. That is really important because we don't want the mixture to break. We want it to become an emulsion. Okay, I've added 2 eggs. Now I'm going to scrape it down. We need to scrape it down fairly regularly, okay? Now, if it does break, you'll notice what happens is the butter kind of goes into little globules. If you add a little bit of flour at that stage, it can kind of bring it together. If it does happen, though, it's certainly not the end of the world. The cake will turn out okay, so don't worry. Okay, we have our 6 eggs in here now. Now you won't be using 6 eggs because you're just going to make 1 cake. I'm making 2 because I'm doing a cake decorating activity next week. So now we can do this by hand, and I would think that it would be probably best for you to do it by hand. In fact, I think I'll do it by hand as well. We've got a really lovely fluffy mix now. And we don't want to spoil that. It's got a lot of air in the mix. And we don't want to spoil that by, see how fluffy it is? Gorgeous. When you think about what the butter looks like beforehand. So now we're going to get something like this. Get a spatula. Scrape it down again. Get most of this off here, off the paddle. Now don't use a whisk for this job because the whisk is very hard to clean and it doesn't do the same job. So that's going to go over here. Now we're going to add the flour and the milk in batches. So we're going to put a bit of flour in first, maybe 1/3 of the flour. And this is self-raising flour, so we don't have any baking powder. It's already in the flour. Now we're folding. Fold for a little while. When it's not quite incorporated, add about 1/3 of the milk. Keep folding. We don't want lumps, so we want to do this fairly quickly. I'm still trying to keep, but I'm not beating it, I'm folding it. Now we want more flour. Look in there, it looks lovely and mixed. There's no little bits of flour hiding anywhere. So we're going to take 1/3 of that mix, about like that, put it into a bowl, another 1/3 over here, trying to make them even, and leave 1/3 in the bowl. Now we're going to add cocoa to one mix. Probably should have kept a little bit of milk back because sometimes what happens is when you add the cocoa, it dries it out a bit. So I'll put cocoa in there. I'm just going to put an absolute splash of milk in there, just like a little tiny bit. Just because by the time we've added the cocoa to this, it's going to dry out. A little splash more. takes quite a while to incorporate it all completely. You've got to keep up that folding action. Now we need another spatula, and we're going to add red colouring to this other mix, to the other 1/3. So we're just going to add just a couple of drops because we want it to be kind of pink. Okay, our pink is incorporated. So now we're going to make a mix in each tin. And how we're going to do that is we're going to get our tin, get some spoons, and we're going to put a little bit of the yellow in, a little bit of the pink, a little bit of the chocolate, and we're going to keep going round until the tin is full. Okay, so look, I've got blobs of all the 3 colours in there. Now I'm going to just smooth that over with a spatula so it's level. So I've done the top, that's good, but I'm going to do a little bit more than that. So that's fairly level. Now I'm going to get a skewer and I'm going to go through and swirl it around so that underneath it will look like this is getting a marble effect. So we're going to put that in an oven of 160 degrees because it's fan forced, and it's got 40 minutes down there. I'm going to have a look after 35 and have a look and see. Probably it will take 40 minutes. And there we have it. It worked. Okay everyone, we've had way more than 40 minutes, so ignore the recipe. Actually, I'm going to change the recipe. We have had 40 plus 20, we have had 60 minutes in the oven on 160 because my fan isn't very strong. So I'm just going to show you how we're going to test the cake when it's ready. Come over here. Okay, there's 3 ways, three things you look for. Actually, there's 4. My mother told me that if you put your ear up and you can't hear it going, it's cooked. Here's another way. If it's pulled away from the paper, and yes it has, it's cooked. If you push it in the middle and it springs back, yes it's cooked. And number 4, if you put a skewer right in the middle and it comes out clean, it's cooked. So look at that cake, isn't it fantastic? I'm sorry we can't open it up for you because we're doing a demo with that cake next week, and we're going to ice it and we're going to make it look fantastic for stage 5 because they are doing birthday cakes for their food for special occasions. So that's what you would choose, that's what you would get to do if you choose food tech for your elective for next year if you're in year 8, okay? So think about that. Anyway, I'll see you later, and I can't wait to see you at school.